Minnesota was promised to the Somalis 3,000 years ago, and I got proof. In this video alone, I'm going to show you the evidence as to why Minnesota is their native land. So as we should all know by now, some of the first early settlers of Minnesota were actually Somali explorers. They came to Minnesota and actually set up one of the first early civilizations. And as you can see here, this is a picture of the Somali founding fathers of Minnesota. Even this guy here, he's still Somali, he's just half Yemeni. And as well, we can quite clearly see the Somali flag waving in the background. And as you can see from the old Minnesota flag, it is very, very similar to the Somali flag. They got similar color schemes, they just covered the star up. But in the year 2024, they actually changed the Minnesota flag to resemble more of a Somali flag. Reason being, they were scared of losing the history and the culture of Minnesota. And the new flag was actually designed by a non-Somali called Andrew Pekuri. However, that being said, this man most likely does have Somali ancestry. Because as we know, some of the most famous Minnesotans ever actually do seem to have a mix of Somali admixture within their DNA, which actually isn't too far-fetched considering the fact that they've been here for so long. And that was promised to them 3,000 years ago.
Guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by. So carry goes to the creators in these videos, guys. Honestly, I do not understand these people and how they come up with all these things. So there's this claim by the Somalis, and they are saying that Minnesota was promised to them thousands of years ago, 3,000 years ago to be precise. And they believe that their presence in Minnesota was not only as a result of war, migration, or refugee programs, but something that was already meant to happen. As how? According to them, there were signs long before they arrived in Minnesota, right? And one of the hilarious things they are talking about is the Minnesota state flag. They say that the flag looks similar to the Somali flag. They're talking about the colors, they're talking about the design. And from their point of view, this similarity is not just a coincidence. They believe that when symbols repeat, it points to a deeper meaning that we all apparently have not seen yet. And another thing they're talking about is the name Minnesota. Now, instead of accepting the common explanation of the name, now they are breaking the words into parts. They are saying that, okay, Mini means mother, and Soda means choosing, something given, or something special, guys. And using this breakdown, they are saying that Minnesota means motherland, which means a land that was prepared for them before they arrived, guys. From all these ideas, they concluded that Somalis were always meant to come to Minnesota, and they believe that the land existed first, meaning they, the people, came later. Guys, make this make sense to me in the comment section. I try to think about it, and I'm like, this does not make any sense, because there is no part of history that says Minnesota was promised to the Somali people and it was just waiting for them to arrive. Is it that it was waiting for them to, have war, or was it that it was waiting for the civil war to come upon them, or was it that it was waiting for them to come in as refugees, or what exactly? Guys, let me know your thoughts. Let's see what other creators have to say, and I'll see you soon.
I hear you, but I'm telling you, this is the land of my people. Minnesota was promised to us 3,000 years ago. My ancestors have been here for generations. In fact, hold on, I'll show you a picture. So this right here is a picture of my great-great-great-grandfather, Farah Ismail Abdullahi Jibril Agmadige, having tea with the Native American chief of the Dakota tribe right next to Lake Minnetonka. And this is right here, this is him fighting alongside the natives in 1816. In fact, the name Minnesota is Somali. Minan means home. Soda means there she is. Minnesota, home, there she is. That's what it means to us. Just look at the state flag of Minnesota, right? And how much it looks like the flag of Somalia. It's there to remind us of the pilgrimage our great-grandparents made to make it to the promised land of Minnesota, from the sea to the lakes.
Can somebody please tell me what the hell the Somalians are talking about when they say that Minnesota was promised to them over 3,000 years ago? Because are they trolling, trying to be like in comparison to Israel, or are they being serious? And if they are being serious, may I please see the paperwork that granted you guys the state of Minnesota? Because while I'm not totally opposed to the rightful owner of Minnesota getting Minnesota itself, I definitely don't want you guys to have it. because you sort of robbed the state blind, and I don't think that you deserve it. So if you could just send me the paperwork, the scripture, the documentation that Minnesota belongs to you. Now, I did have somebody leave a picture in my comment section that was a picture of, like, I guess a Bible, I'm not sure, but it said that the verse came from Genesis 12:30. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as Genesis 12:30, so I do think that that document was not correct. So if anybody could just let me know what in the hell they're talking about, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume it's the whole 68% IQ level thing and move on with my day.
So let me ask y'all a question, because it's been bothering me, all right? Just answer it, though. I'm asking, all right? For all the Somalians in Minnesota that have been going with this rhetoric, okay, just the psyopsis of, they were promised Minnesota 3,000 years ago. Now, listen, I'm not a genius, but if they was promised Minnesota 3,000 years ago, that would put them 1,000 and change years before Christ, right? Which would also put them how many thousands of years before Minnesota was ever called Minnesota and the United States was ever even allegedly discovered, which we know wasn't by Christopher Columbus. It was already here, whatever. Make it make sense. Who told you that? Where'd you get that from? You said if we put it back enough years, they won't be able to prove it and they'll just have to believe it. It's like y'all, but y'all motherfucking, nobody over here, when I start talking, everybody's like, oh, that, no, it doesn't fucking make sense. Who promised them Minnesota 3,000 years ago?
Please tell me none of y'all believe that Minnesota was promised to Somalians 3,000 years ago. That was a complete lie. That was back in like 1000 BC. There wasn't even contact between what was Somalia and what is now known as the United States 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago, the United States didn't exist. 3,000 years ago, Minnesota didn't exist. But you know what does exist? The left's lying rhetoric. Honestly, I need someone here to humor me on this. Like, why? Why does the left just come up with this blatant bullshit that they try to pass off as truths? Which, I mean, come on, this is all basic knowledge. And if you can critically think, you didn't even have to look this up to fucking debunk it. Maybe this is why I cannot stand the fucking left. I hate a fucking liar. Now, why does this rumor exist? Bait ragers, conspiracy accounts, and online trolls.
This is the part where I know if you guys agree, because it's important to note that because Somalis says Minnesota was promised to them does not make it true. There is no historical proof that links Somalia to Minnesota thousands of years ago. There is no old Somali record, there is no map, there is no letter, there is no book that shows any connection between East Africa and Minnesota. And there are also no religious texts that mention Minnesota or say that, oh, this was a promised land to Somalis. Now, the name Minnesota itself comes from Native American languages, and it existed long before Somali people came. Now, the state flag was designed by modern times, in modern times by government officials, and it was not connected to Somalia culture or Somalis in any way. Even if the colors look similar to the Somali flag, that does not mean there is any connection, guys. Symbols can look alike by chance. It doesn't mean that it means anything. And words can sound similar by chance. It doesn't make them related. So why exactly do they believe this? I believe that after many years of war and displacement, Somali family lost their homes, their community, and their sense of safety. So I feel that when they arrived in Minnesota, slowly they built new lives, they found a community, they started new jobs, they were like, oh, this is good. They raised their children in safety, they created a cultural space for themselves, right? And their traditions slowly continued there. Now, when a place becomes stable and familiar like that, it's possible for it to feel important. Now, feeling like a place is meant to be somewhere does not make it true in history or in language. Now, in the real sense, some of the Somalis believe it strongly, but it's just a belief. It's not the fact. It's just their way of saying that, oh, this is why we're in Minnesota. And the state of Minnesota was not promised to you years ago. It just shows that sometimes people turn experience, survival, and patterns into ideas about destiny. That does not make it a historical fact because it is not true in any way, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think Minnesota was promised to the Somalis 3,000 years ago? And that's a very long time. I mean, where exactly? Because I saw some videos, right, about some pictures, some of them actually explaining themselves, putting some pictures, and they're saying, oh, this was their forefather when it came to this, when it came to that. Guys, I really do not know. Let me know in the comment section. Do you think Minnesota was promised to Somalis 3,000 years ago? I really want to hear from you. And if you have found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll definitely see you in my next video. Please stay safe. Ciao.